Morning again, folks. For our daily devotional this morning, I want to turn to the book of Ecclesiastes. The book of Ecclesiastes, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and it's chapter 2 that we want to turn our thoughts to. This book was probably written by Solomon, written towards the end of his life, looking back over all that he had experienced in his life. And as you know, Solomon was one of the greatest kings of Israel. Certainly, apart from the Lord Jesus Christ, he was the wisest man on all the earth. What's interesting is that Solomon came to realise that life under the sun, in other words, life lived apart from God, with no reference to God, no thought of God, a life that is lived for one's own pleasures, ultimately is a life not worth living. And this comes out throughout the book, and it certainly comes out in chapter 2 and verse 11. Listen to what Solomon says. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labour that I had laboured to do, and behold, all was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun. I looked on all that my hands had wrought. Solomon certainly had done a lot during his lifetime. He built the temple, he built palaces, he built amazing gardens. He was a man who was always wanting to do things and to do them to the extremes. And throughout the book of Ecclesiastes, he looks at all different areas of life. And Solomon's conclusion is that all that he had done, no matter what it wasn't worth anything if it wasn't done with a view to pleasing God. All of us have one life to live. What are we living it for? Who are we living it for? Are we living it for ourselves, or are we living it for God? Is our life self-centered, or is it God-centered? Something has been impressing me over the past few years, and that is how quickly life goes. And one looks back on one's life and sees all the things that one has been able to do, and yet at the end of the day, what's it worth? Unless it has been done for God, it's worthless, it's empty. Someone once said, there's only one life, it'll soon be past, and only what's done for Christ will last. I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and on the labour that I had laboured, and behold, it was all vanity, emptiness. How important it is for us to spend our days doing what God has called us to do in whatever sphere He's placed us, but doing it with an eye to God's glory, so that everyone around us knows that we do our daily work, we apply ourselves to our daily responsibilities with one aim in view, and that is to please God. These are the things that last. Everything else will vanish away. Let's take time to look at our lives and to see if they are us-centered or if they're God-centered. May God bless these thoughts to our hearts this morning. Amen.